Yo, Market Scraper here. In this video, we're going to talk about the shares of Tesla that I bought and sold and kind of take a look at my year or a position that I mainly started this year and a little bit more before this year too, kind of 2018 and 19. But take a look at the transactions that I made, if those buys were a good decision, the sells were a good decision, why I might have done that, critiquing myself in terms of what I thought was a good thing, what I thought was a bad thing, and a little bit of the reasons why I might have made that move, and what I would do differently now, knowing what I do now and my progression as an investor. Okay, let's jump into this video. Alright, well, before we get started, don't forget to smash that like button. And it really helps with the YouTube algorithm and helps this channel out so more people can see these videos. And be so appreciative if you haven't already, smash that subscribe button, and let's get into the Tesla stock. Okay, so I'm going to move this over here. So let's take a look at this over here. And the first thing I want to mention here is that, so back in end of 2017, the beginning of 2018, this is a range where I was just buying a few shares, selling a few shares, not really doing much, not really investing, and more like just being a still swing trader, being cute, making, I don't know, 10 bucks here and there probably, honestly. And then so let's zoom in on this section here where I really traded and started to invest in Tesla. So we're gonna take a look at all the purchases that I made through this entire time period. And this is a quick legend here of what colors mean that I bought a couple shares, or if I sold a couple shares and bought a handful, or sold a handful, or bought a lot and sold a lot. And I know these are very descriptive and very relative at the same time as well. But the main purpose here is to illustrate the kind of moves that I made. So I started my position here in Tesla, and it seemed like a okay place to start at that time. Pretty good, no complaints there. I like that I bought at another low point here. I wasn't afraid to buy that low dip right there. And over here, not the lowest that I could have bought it, but it's again nice that I bought it at a comparatively low point instead of at this high point here. I bought at the next low point, the quick dip. But in retrospect, we can see that it went down a lot more since then. And I again bought it at a low point. So this is looking pretty good. I don't really have too much complaints about those moves so far in general. It looks like I sold a little bit there. I don't really agree with that move. I think that if I'm going to continue to buy Tesla, and why would I sell it? So it looks like I'm starting to buy just pretty frequently. I don't know if these moves are really smart. It looks like it's a pretty good move there. I mean, this is actually looking like a pretty interesting trend. And if you see Tesla stock here, Tesla stock has this long trend that it ends up doing in reality. I wonder if my buys coincide with that trend to a certain extent. I'm sure that I have some horrible decisions I make next, especially with this going up, where you could start getting the FOMO, fear of missing out. We'll see how I did there. So it looks like I definitely started buying when it started going up. I mean, the good side here is if you're a believer in averaging in, I'm definitely averaging in across time here. So there's that. But definitely, I mean, if I had to go back, I am more of a lump sum guy these days. It also depends on how much money I have coming in. Because actually in here I had kind of like a certain amount coming in to the account over a certain period of time. I believe this is mainly done on my Robinhood account, so that's why all these transactions were free. And so I would generally have always less than $1,000 coming at once, because you can get that money instantly, and that can only happen every couple of weeks or something like that. So it looks like I bought at the best point possible. Okay, well, at least averaging in. Now this is pretty embarrassing. I bought at that high point right there. Oh well, it is what it is. And then I bought at least I buy at the lows too. And I bought all the way down here. Okay, that's nice. I like that I averaged down there. This might get a little bit repetitive, apologize for that, but I hope it's interesting to see the different purchases that I made. And one interesting thing here is that we are starting to see this trend that I am buying in this downward trend right here. I mean, we have some buys up here. That's just it's just an interesting thing, because buyers are also doing the same thing that I'm doing in terms of the broader market. That's why the stock doesn't go below this point. And then I finally made my first meaningful purchase here. Now it is on the way up here. There might have been some good news coming out for Tesla, and that's might be why the stock's going up, and I might have bought into that hype. And that's something that I don't necessarily like to do. Depending on what the hype is that definitely, once you hear good news, and buy, and that's a risky thing to do. I know that an example of this is that Disney stock went up to 130 something, and then I think it went up to like 135 or 138 even, and then it started to taper off. And actually, when I first jumped into Disney earlier this year, was actually, or just a few months ago, honestly, was when Disney went back to 128 or 129, or maybe it was just 130 even, or the low 130s. And so when it was there, I bought into it because I did think Disney started to go lower than it should, and then I thought that was a good opportunity to buy there. And at least for now, Disney is, I think, at 145 plus, so it seems to be a good buy there, or actually 146 or 7. I think I've been interested at the price at 145 these days, actually, for similar reasons, that Disney went to 150 or so, and then now it's going back down a little bit, and it could be a good buy right now, in my opinion. We'll see what happens, but I'm interested to add a few more shares there. Okay, so going along here, I'm just kind of averaging in. Again, I would probably want to just do some lump sum buys where I thought were good if I had to redo this. Let's see how I do on this downtrend here. If I still continue to buy, if I get freaked out and walk away maybe from this stock for a while. I think it's around here where there's this demand concern, and people are having these fears of the demand being an issue. Or actually, that was a little bit further along the lines here, actually, still. So I'm still buying into the stock here. And it just seems kind of all over the place, averaging in. I guess that's the only main merit I can give here. That's fine. I mean, if I really believe in this stock, and then averaging in. And one thing that might have been going around the news about this, and this is where actually this is probably my most significant purchase right here. Yeah, definitely most significant by far. Yeah, this is bought a lot here. It's probably my biggest buy in Tesla stock at this time here. The one thing about Tesla stock that we've been hearing around this time was that Tesla was going to burn out all their cash and go insolvent and have, go bankrupt. And a little bit further along the way here, there were talks about Tesla stock being worth $10 by analysts, or some absurd amount like that. And the second thing was that there was a demand issue for the Model 3, that since delivery numbers were down in the quarter that from the previous quarter, that there was a demand issue, and demand is going to be tapering off. And the two reasons why I did not buy into the narrative were the simple facts that, A, I knew that Apple tried buying Tesla in the past, and I also know that Tesla did not have any issue getting funding when they wanted funding, and people are always willing to fund Tesla. And so Elon could just ask for funding, and then they'll get more funding. So I didn't think money was an issue. Now, about the demand, the reason Tesla gave about the reason why they didn't hit the numbers that they expected in the quarter was because there was a logistical issue, logistical nightmare, I think it was, that shipping cars overseas to Europe for the first time. And that made sense. I was like, okay, fine. Well, what's the data behind that, though? Is there additional numbers we can get to prove that that's actually true? And the other data point that made me believe in this narrative and not the media's narrative that there's a demand issue and that it's just going to be tapering off from there was that there was a ton of deliveries on the way, thousands of deliveries that are going to be on the way that we won't see the delivery revenue from that in this quarter, but it was going to be deferred to the next quarter. Like there was like, I think it was like 7,000 in transit or something, or 5 to 7,000 cars that were in transit still. So that was a big number, and that was going to make the next quarter look pretty good in terms of deliveries. So demand didn't seem like an issue to me. And so going further along here, we kept buying in, and I bought another significant portion at the bottom here. And then this is where I made my next second most significant purchase as well, second behind this purchase here. And then, and on this trade, on this way down, I did do in another account some swing trading as well, just for a few $100s. But since Tesla stock was going down, I wanted to keep into the stock, and I didn't sell these shares. I was just trading some shares on the side to just profit off of this decline. And going further here, looks like my buys have been increasing in terms of the volume, and which speaks to confidence and kind of more of a lump sum. The buys that I'm making here in this time period versus, let's say, this time period or even this time period are more spaced out and more focused, seemingly. Oh, and this is also where I bought the Tesla convertible bond. Yeah. If you're interested in what Tesla convertible bonds are or why I bought them, and check out this video. I'll link it in a card up here. All about why I own Tesla convertible bonds and what they are. All right, looking at further here, I'm buying more. And let's see how I do in the bottom of Tesla stock. Well, I'm still buying. It doesn't look as confident. Maybe I'm strapped on cash. One thing that I want to mention here is that about this time here, I made a decent position already. I kind of made a position that I was kind of fine with. But then Tesla stock started to go down. So I definitely was extending my position further. I was definitely increasing my position more than I initially expected to be in Tesla. So that was definitely something that was on my mind. And what I told myself is that this opportunity is too good to miss. I made some huge purchases here. Let's quickly see what my next purchase is here. I made another purchase there and a big purchase right over here. Not at the very bottom, but I think it was around 185. And what's going on here is that I overextended myself in this Tesla position. And that's a kind of a, it's kind of a good thing and kind of a bad thing though too. So basically what I told myself is that once Tesla stock earns me some decent money, I would sell a portion off and hold the position, the amount that I want to keep. Let's continue here a little bit. Okay, looks like I bought there and bought there. Okay. So what happened here is that basically, in terms of what these amounts mean, all this amount here is probably about 1/3 of my position so far. And another third was bought like right here, and then one other third of the position was added right here. So, or including this guy too. But so what my next move was indeed a sell here. So I did sell a portion here. This sell, just in terms of what this sell equals, it's much less than, because it's hard with what does sold a lot mean, right? So this sell here and this sell here combined, and these are the two sells that I did make. So it sold a lot and sold a handful. And again, this is because I had way too much in Tesla. I wanted to use some of the money in other stocks I really wanted to buy. And most of the stocks, and I didn't have any too much more cash allocated for stocks on hand because I did allocate most of my money at this point to Tesla and to a lot of other stocks as well. And this was around when most of the stocks hit their bottom, and this was around May 31st, June, I think it was June 2nd or 3rd or something like that. And this is when all the stocks made their 52-week lows, especially in the tech sector. And so I picked up a lot of stocks there, and I even made some changes in my 401k from more conservative assets to more aggressive assets right here, just because and this was around May 31st, I think it was, or June 1st, and this is where I thought that there was a shift in the market and we experienced the lows. And because this came off of the S&P 500 dropping over 1%, and I was pretty excited about that move because that reminded me of the move on Christmas Eve of 2018 where the markets dropped more than 1%, and I thought that was a good opportunity here to make some aggressive moves here. And what I mean by my 401k making it more aggressive, and I've been wanting to change it for a while. So I had a target group fund, I think it was like 2050, from a previous employer that I just had it in that and I left it that way. All my other employers since I make my 401ks mainly mutual funds that mirror the S&P 500 or just the total stock market. And the reason for that is because they're more aggressive and also because they have very low expense ratios, and the target date groups have higher expense ratios. So I've been wanting to just get out of that fund, but I just didn't know when was a good time to get out of that fund. So actually, on the day that the stock market did really horrible and the S&P 500 did pretty bad, the target fund actually was, I believe, positive that day. So I thought that was a really perfect time to switch out from that slightly. I mean, I only had like 10% bonds, but still, it was too. I wanted more risk and I wanted to get more gains, and I was very confident that the stock market would be going up from there, and it has, at least in the time being. So I just want to explain what I didn't like take it out of a fund and invest it all in individual stocks for my 401k. Far from that. Okay, moving forward here, and this purchase here represented less than this one purchase here, and this purchase here also represented less than this group of purchases right here. Just wanted to give a perspective because this could have been like half of my Tesla stock for all you'd know, but it wasn't. That's not the case. And then anything else I do here? Okay, I made one more purchase. I think this is my last purchase that I did here, just because I thought it was a good purchase there. I was pretty sure that from this formation, Tesla stock was going up again, and the reason why I thought Tesla stock was going to go up again, and my thesis here why I thought Tesla stock was going to go up again here. Okay, so let's look at Tesla stock here to take a look at why I thought Tesla stock was going to go up from here, because this is already a huge run. First of all, I was extremely confident that in this move here alone that we would hit the all-time highs, which I think was around 385, being aggressive of the all-time high, because that was an intraday all-time high around, I think it was around here actually, intraday it hit 385. But what this reminded me of here, this point here, was March of 2017. This area here I kept seeing as we went down right here. I was thinking, okay, well, we made a large move here, and then we're going to make and then we made an equal, if not more, move up from that point. From here, I was expecting an equal move, and this is kind of like a bull flag. So I was thinking that we'd have an equal move up. And if we look at that, did we make an equal move yet? Are we going to go up further? And so as we can look back here, Tesla stock had a long period of consolidation here and then was shot up, but then had a significant retracement here. And after a long period of consolidation, Tesla stock again, like in this parallel here, shot up, and then but it had a significant retracement again. So whenever Tesla stock does finish going crazy parabolic, I do think it will definitely have a significant retracement eventually. Tesla stock can't, no stock can keep going up forever. So when that happens, but then well, if that's going to happen, shouldn't I just sell more stocks? Well, the reason why I'm not selling more stocks now is because I do think that the stocks will go down again in the relatively near future after it exhausts all buyers, is because of just the historical trends. And if you look at different bubbles that we've had, not saying Tesla stock is a bubble here, but they show what happened to parabolic moves. But they also show that they can go up for a lot longer than you think. This is Bitcoin here. This just kept going up and up and up. And then after it went down, it still went up further. And then one thing here about these bubbles that you get is that there's an attempt for a second time at this peak that usually fails. This is beyond me, and it doesn't really follow these other trends similarly. So this is an example of it not having to try to make another attempt at a peak and just dropping. I mean, it's just an IPO. IPOs are kind of extremely speculative, and wild moves can happen. So I don't think this is very significant as the other ones. This is Bitcoin. This is gold. This recently happened to Aurora stock, and again, we had this second attempt to break this high here and this double top, and then eventually we went back down to the initial start here. Like we do in a lot of these cases, we end up going to the base here eventually. This is gold, and not being able to reach this high again. So that's just an example of those kind of crashes. But Tesla stock has a interesting pattern here, where it goes up, goes in a range, goes up, goes in a range, and this might be going up and going into another range here, if you can learn anything from history here. But at the same time, we would expect it to go down. So I would expect Tesla to trade in a decently similar range. Maybe Tesla won't be as volatile. Maybe the range will be more less crazy like this, but only time will tell. But I definitely wouldn't short this here, because who knows how high it can go. It can still go up a lot more. The other reason why I'm not selling this is because I believe Tesla stock will go up a lot more in the long term. Even though we might have another correction, let's say it looks like this and it goes back down. Eventually, years later, 5 years later, we're going to have another uptick, and it's going to go up again, and we're going to blow past 430 in the future, years down the road. So that's what I believe for Tesla, and I'm definitely a Tesla bull, confident in their story. But if something happens along the line, new data comes out, reasons to be bearish on Tesla, and I will definitely, as the best of my ability as an investor, to take new data, be open to changing my mind, and act accordingly. But for now, staying in the position. It could go all the way back down. A really key level here, just to keep in mind from a technical standpoint, is this line that's here. And right now it's probably around 380, let's say. So this level of 380 is a level that Tesla stock, if it went below, then on a technical standpoint, we could see a lot lower. But that 380 is kind of like this line here of Tesla not being able to go below this line for a while, or kind of like this line here not being able to go below some line over here. So 380 is the new bottom range that I see for Tesla. So I think it'll bounce between 380 and whatever high, maybe that's 430. I look forward to seeing what Tesla does in 2020. Yeah, and I really thought that in the end of the year, I want to really reflect on something that I did in the stock market this year, and even though it's been the previous year too, but kind of try to learn something from the actions that I personally made, try to find out what I would do differently, and definitely more lump sums, and I guess have more of a game plan in terms of if a stock actually goes down, however much more, kind of be prepared for that and allocate accordingly. And it also definitely helped me just realize to this whole lesson of Tesla, even if it just crashes in the future, at least for the time being, it helped me be really confident in my thoughts and my decisions on a stock, and not be necessarily impacted by another narrative, especially in the media, in terms of what they're saying about the stock, and if I should be believing what they're saying. Because if I believed what they said, I would have sold all my shares at a massive loss. Because when Tesla stock was down at its lowest point, just this position alone, I was down massively. It was probably the biggest position that I was down ever for Tesla stock. But at the same time, I was fine with that. I was fine with that because I was so confident in Tesla stock, and I just thought it was hilarious that the media and some analysts were saying that they thought Tesla stock was going to go down to $10. Another analyst said it was going down to $40. Several other people thought, pundits and others thought it was worth nothing. And I also think that it's kind of this whole thing was a big learning experience for a lot of investors, people who gain confidence in a stock and learn to gain confidence in stock regardless of what other people are saying. Also, several people sold out after the first horrible earnings. Tesla stock crashed, and then Tesla stock rallied again, and then there was another disappointing earnings, and Tesla stock crashed. And then right when there was another Tesla earnings here, what did people do? Well, a lot of people actually sold out of Tesla. They're like, we just made it at a high here. I'm probably positive on my position now, and then I don't want to have have it crash again. And again, this is kind of one of the points that I'm kind of frequent about, having this recency bias. Unfortunate that folks who sold out here, blame someone for selling part of a position here. That's fine. It's fine to sell part of a position. I sold part of a position here and here. Not that big of a position overall, but for different reasons, and for a reason that was planned, and a reason that wasn't based on emotion. Tesla's still a huge part of my portfolio, and this is not talking about my 401k or even IRA. Those accounts have, unfortunately, no Tesla in those accounts. Maybe they will have Tesla in those accounts soon, especially when Tesla next year joins the S&P 500, or will they? Hopefully they will. So once they do join the S&P 500, then all my accounts will own Tesla. Man, that's like my dream come true right there. Okay, well, jokes aside, I hope you guys learned something from this video, from my failures, from my success, from my story, whatever it is. And I'm really interested in your Tesla story, what you learned about and how you dealt with the media. And did that scare you off from buying more shares? Did you buy shares before? Especially interested for those folks who bought shares before, and not just bought shares at the bottom here. For folks who bought shares before, it's kind of hard to buy shares into weakness unless you're super confident in a company, especially with bad news. So, and for me, one thing that I did learn here as well is that if I bought shares like only down here, I don't think I would have had a hard time buying more shares, because Tesla stock just started going up, just kept going up ever since going here. And it's like, when you get another good opportunity to buy shares? However, since I bought shares around here, there were lots of good opportunities to jump into the stock, and then all throughout this entire first half of this year, so many good opportunities to buy into the stock. Everything just seemed like such a good opportunity. So one interesting thing that, and I'm not saying to do this, but it's just a funny thing. It's like, oh, it's almost great to buy a stock when it's at its peak, because then once it's at its peak, all the subsequent opportunities will be great buys in your mind. You'll always be able to just average down, average down, average down, and it's a lot easier to average down, and it feels better to see your cost basis go down than when the stock's going up And when you buy more of a stock that's going up, your cost basis increases. And as an investor, that cost basis increase, and that's one of my own personal weaknesses that I have. I want to be investing in AbbVie right now, for example. I want to be investing more in, and like I mentioned Disney earlier, and that's something that I want to, and I think I will, because I think it's a good opportunity right now to average up right now because of the recent dip, even though I've been averaging up from my $31 a share, $131 a share cost basis right now. But I think that it's a good lesson here to be able to, for me, to be able to average up, and that's been a struggle for me. Once I have when I buy at the bottom, like I did with AbbVie, like I did with CVS, like I did with another more controversial stock. I bought a CenturyLink at $10.50 a share, and it's hard when a stock just keeps going up from there. But CenturyLink, could definitely just crash down in the future. If you look at its long-term trend for the past year or two, it's just been going down, but it's been going up a lot recently. So it's been hard for me to just buy stocks going up. So that's something that for this next year of 2020, and I think that I'm definitely going to have to, because I do think the stock market's going to keep going up in 2020. So with the stock market at all-time highs, I'm going to have to learn to be fine with just buying more shares. And one thing that I do to avoid this problem, so I know it's a problem of mine, is that I just stop investing on my own and I just ramp up my 401k and try to max that out. And so my paycheck, especially if I have money on the side, when I have money on the side, let's say if I have $5,000 or whatever I have that I want to invest, instead of investing that $5,000, I'll literally live off of that $5,000 from my savings and ramp up my 401k so that I basically put all of it, or a very significant amount of it, into my 401k or wherever else it needs to go, other investments just automatically, so I don't have to think about it. And so that's something that I have been doing that helps with my struggle of buying shares when they go too high. But I want to be able to buy shares consistently on my own, even if they go higher, and even if they seem overvalued to me. So let me know if you guys struggle with a similar thing, and what do you do to work around that and buy shares even though they're going higher. And just a friendly reminder, I'm not a professional financial advisor. These videos are for your entertainment and informational purposes only. And I'll see you guys next time.